It's been nearly 1 week since 14-year-old Gervasi's father miraculously rescued his missing teen daughter after he received an anonymous tip that she was inside a stranger's boat docked in Islip, New York. Before Emma was found, she had been missing for 26 days after vanishing from her home without a coat or shoes. Now it's been reported that a 65-year-old man has been arrested in connection with Emma disappearance and has been charged with rape, kidnapping, and child endangerment. He has pled not guilty. Joining us now is Emma father, Frank. Frank, it's so good to meet you, but I'm so sorry for the circumstance. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. Nice to meet you also.
Well, I cannot even imagine the hell that you've gone through with your daughter missing for 14 days. Can you kind of walk us through first the moment that you were able to find her and discover her? That had to be a moment you'll never forget.
The moment I found her was probably a moment of elation and probably one of the greatest feelings I've ever experienced.
Well,
it was a pretty good feeling.
Well, I can't even imagine, and we'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. But I'm so thrilled for you, and I'm thrilled for your daughter. So just God bless that you found her, and I'm just thrilled to death that that's the case. Now, let's go back to the night that she went missing. You have no doubt in your mind that your daughter was the victim of sex trafficking. Is that true?
That's 100% correct. Yeah.
And how did this come about? This was on December 9th, and I've kind of gone back and checked, and at this time it was in the high 40s maybe, temperature outside, and she had no shoes on, no jacket on. I believe that what I've been told is that she ran out to get something out of a car. Is that correct? Tell me what you understand took place.
Well, I know it was torrential rain that night, and she was having a relatively good day. And we believe that she went outside to maybe retrieve something out of this person's car and might have been pulled in or abducted because she didn't look like she planned to leave at all. Again, she had no shoes on. It was pouring rain out. She had a very, like generic T-shirt on and some leggings. And she left everything she owns pretty much behind. So it didn't appear like she was looking to leave.
Okay, so this wasn't a parked car. You say she went out to maybe get something out of a car that someone else was driving.
Correct. You can see the car pull up on camera, but you really don't have a very good view of the car. The rain was super heavy that day and all the cameras were fogged out.
Right. And do you have any idea who was driving this car?
We do now. The police already took care of that. They had him in custody. And yes, we have all that information that I can't really disclose at this moment on the driver of that vehicle.
I understand. And listen, if I ask you anything at all that would interfere with the investigation or put anything in jeopardy, just put up a stop sign and we'll stop, because we don't want to do anything to jeopardize this investigation in any way whatsoever. So don't hesitate to tell me you can't talk about something as you just did. I want to support the police on this 100%. But was this someone that, without naming the person, was this someone that she knew, or do you believe it was somebody that she had met online?
This is definitely somebody she had met online. I know that she had been chatting with him prior to this disappearance multiple times through Snapchat and things like that. So it was definitely somebody she had been talking to online.
Okay, so
definitely an older, the person was definitely older than, he was in his late 30s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And you think that he maybe lured her to the car to for her to get something from him and then maybe pulled her inside the car or lured her inside the car?
Yeah, we're not 100% sure on the actual events that took place to getting her into the vehicle, but we do know that she was with him, and he was doing inappropriate things to her, to say the least, and did remove her jewelry and things like that also.
Oh, is that right? So, and how did you come to know what took place between her and this individual driving the car? Is this something she told you after you were able to rescue her?
Yeah, 100%, Phil. Mm-hmm.
And when you talked to her, was she forthcoming about what had happened, and did she tell you that she didn't intend on leaving, or did she tell you that she was leaving?
To be honest with you, I didn't really get that far yet with her. The day I found it, it was a lot going on, a lot of detectives and a lot of interviews, and she's also in recovery, and they're doing their thing. My time was pretty limited with her after I found her and we got to the hospital. My time's been pretty limited since,
Right.
as far as visiting hours. They only give you 15 minutes of time. I don't want to really press her too much when I get there. I just want to kind of enjoy my time with her and
Of
just
course.
leave that interview to the police.
Of course. Now, shortly after after she went missing, she was found. There were images of her found on a hotel surveillance video at 2 a.m. At a motel in Bohemia. Is that correct?
That's correct, Phil.
And she was she? Does it show her knocking on various doors? What does it show?
I believe it shows her knocking on some doors on the, in the hotels. And, we see her walk off camera, and that's kind of all we see at that point.
And how long was this after December 9th at 5 p.m.?
I have to say it was into the next morning.
Okay.
Into the next day. So it had to be like, 2, 3 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, but it was that same night. It was later that
Yes.
that same night. Okay, so but then she goes missing again after that. You find her on the surveillance videos, then she goes missing again.
Yes. So when she panned off camera, no one was sure what happened to her after that point.
Okay. Does she have a cell phone?
No, she didn't have a cell phone at all.
Okay. So do you think if she had the opportunity that she would have gotten to a phone and called you if she was able?
I feel like by that point, the drugs that the first person had given her had already affected her ability to make any good decisions at that point.
Okay, so you think someone had given her something at that time, so she may have been in an altered state of consciousness?
100%.
Yeah. And did she have any history of using drugs before this time?
She's had some problems with substance abuse problems, correct.
All right, so do you think that may have been what she was going to the car to get, that someone had promised her some substances or something?
I'm not really sure, Phil. I got to be honest with you. I don't know.
You just don't know what may have lured her out there one way or the other.
Right. I'll probably learn these details soon, but I'm not 100% sure what the motive was on that.
Well, I just imagine that you're relieved to have her back, but also have a million questions. And we're going to talk more about what happened that night after she was seen at the hotel in Bohemia when we come back and talk more with Emma Ray's father, Frank, right after the break. If you're worried about IRS collection tactics, you don't have to face them alone. Tax Network USA is here to help. Tax Network USA is the nation's premier tax relief firm and has negotiated over $1 billion in tax relief for clients. Our services include penalty forgiveness, hardship programs where you might not have to repay anything until your tax debt expires, and offer in compromise solutions for lump sum settlements. Whether you owe $10,000, $1,000 or $10 million, our experts are ready to assist you. Even if you're behind on taxes due to missing personal or business records, Tax Network USA can guide you through the process. Tax season is long over, and for the IRS, that means it's collection season. To schedule complimentary consultation, call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. Don't let the IRS's aggressive tactics control your life. Take charge of your financial future. Visit tnusa.com/Dr. Phil today. It was a cold and rainy night in December 9th, in fact, in East Patchogue, when Emma Ray Gervasi went missing. It was 5 late afternoon, pouring down rain, and all of a sudden, she's gone. 2 days go by, 3 days go by, a week, then 2, then 3. 26 days she's gone missing. The police are looking for her. Her father is looking for her. He's on social media. He's putting out every message he can. Circulars, flyers. The police are in upstate New York. They're looking with cadaver dogs. Thank God they didn't find a body. People just keep looking. The community comes together. Social media community comes together. And then an anonymous tip comes on the phone to her father, Frank. Frank, during these days leading up to this anonymous tip, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think she had run away? Did you think she had been abducted? Did you think she was dead? What did you think during this almost 4 weeks? What did you think during this time?
I have to be honest with you. As a parent, every thought possible goes through your head. As the days go on, the thoughts get worse. Is she dead? Is she alive? Is she hiding? Is she kidnapped? You don't know what to think. It literally tears you up every second of your day. Your mind is nonstop thinking about, where is my kid? And if most parents that don't go through this cannot comprehend what it's like to have a missing child. It's an awful feeling. It really is.
Well, I can't even imagine. One of the things you won't hear me say is I know how you feel, and if you haven't been there, you can't know, can you?
It's horrible. No, I mean, when you find out your child is, God forbid, died, you have some closure. But when your kid is missing, there's no closure. It's just questions upon questions and waiting for that phone to ring all the time.
Well, Christmas Eve, Frank made a heartfelt video plea urging the community to keep searching. And, Frank, this 26 days covered the Christmas holidays. And I can't imagine what was it like? What did you say to yourself when Christmas comes and your precious child is gone? What do you say to yourself?
It's probably one of the most depressing holidays I've ever had. You see families, reuniting and celebrating the holidays together. And I was out driving around looking for my daughter. And I think what made it even worse was some of the people on, social media, whatever, calling me with fake tips or pretending to be her. And it was pretty depressing. It was pretty depressing.
Well, shortly after she went missing, you did get a call early one morning that sounded like her. And then a quick hang up. What did the person on the other end say to you?
It was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, or I don't even remember the time it was. I didn't sleep much during this time that she was missing, but I do remember I was sleeping. The phone rang, I picked it up, and it said, "I love you." And it was my daughter's voice, and it hung up as quick as I can say, "Emma." It was the phone call was over.
Do you believe it was her?
I know it was her because I asked her, and she said, yes, that was me. That was the only phone call she was allowed to make.
Oh, really? So it actually was her?
Yes, she
Wow.
confirmed that with me, and she said they allowed her to make a quick phone call to say, "I love you."
Okay. And when you say they, do you believe there was more than one person involved here at this time that was holding her?
100%.
Yeah. And what makes you
Yeah,
think that?
I can't disclose too much of that information, but I know that the person that had her on the boat was probably not alone.
Okay. And and I know a lot of this is speculation because you haven't had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with your daughter as yet, and I know you look forward to that soon. But when you say that you believe 100% that she was trafficked, do you believe that the time they were holding her, that they were drugging her and violating her body, doing things with her, or causing her to do things against her will?
100%. Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
And when she went missing at 5 o'clock, were you at the house at that time?
No, so I was on my way home. I had just had a very nice conversation with her. She seemed like she was in a great mood. She asked me what I was making her for dinner. I was making one of her favorite dishes for dinner. She said, "I love you, Dad. Can't wait to see you." And we had a nice conversation. And then about 5 minutes later, my little girl's gone.
Yeah. Who all lives in the home, Frank?
Just me and my wife.
Uh-huh. And is this her mother or her stepmother?
It's her stepmom.
Uh-huh. And was she in the house at the time that Emma Ray went missing?
Yeah, correct.
She was
She was upstairs. Yeah, she was upstairs at the time.
there? Uh-huh. But she was just gone that quick.
Yeah, my phone is on 10%. Yes.
Yeah. That's all right. We'll work it out. When we take our next break, we'll get the time worked out and we'll get the power to it and everything that we need to. Now, when people saw that this happened, the community responded, but you also started getting some negative input and some negative messages during this time, correct?
There was definitely a lot of negative input. A lot of fake people, a lot of people offering me, telling me to have my daughter, and they wanted ransom money, $10,000, $15,000. They were sending me pictures of like blood splatter and all sorts of terrible things that just add to what's on your mind. At the time, it's pretty sad.
So people just trolling you at the time and giving you false hope. Have there been fake GoFundMe accounts and that sort of thing set up as well?
Yeah, I recently found a couple of fake GoFundMe accounts that I'm working on right now that I didn't really authorize. I don't really agree with GoFundMe. I did add a link to my page. I said, if you're going to donate anywhere, donate here. But I'm not asking for money. It's just that there was a few fake pages out there, and they're not linked to me. So I hope nobody's donating to those other GoFundMe pages.
Okay, so if they see a GoFundMe page out there, that's not you.
No, it's not me at all.
So don't fall victim to that. You don't want people doing that. All right.
No.
Well, that's terrible, and I hate that people are calling you and harassing you like that at darkest time in your life. That's of course terrible, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the trafficking, and Frank posted videos asking Emma Ray to come home, and if being held captive. Asking anybody that knew anything to please respond. And, it's so interesting how these things come full circle. And you always hear people say, if you see something, if you hear anything, if anything looks wrong to you, say something. And that's exactly what happened in this case. And we're going to talk about how Emma Ray, after 26 days, was discovered and how she was rescued. We'll talk about that when we come back after the break. In times of uncertainty, stemming from economic volatility, political shifts, and global events, it's crucial to work together and unite as a country for a brighter future. Amid these challenges, it's important to take proactive steps to monitor and protect your finances and retirement accounts. That's why I'm turning to physical gold and silver to help protect my accounts, and you should too. Gold and silver prices reached record highs this year, and central banks are buying gold like never before. So get started today with Preserve Gold, the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. They have hundreds of five-star reviews and millions of dollars in trusted transactions. Preserve Gold is giving away a free precious metals guide with information on how to help protect your accounts. Just text Dr. Phil to 50505, and you can get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to claim this exclusive offer from Preserve Gold today. Well, I'm back talking to a very relieved father, Frank Gervasi, the father of Emma Ray Gervasi, who went missing and was gone for 26 days. And let's be honest, we all see these stories where a young girl is lured out her bedroom window, she's talking to somebody on the internet, she goes out the front door, and if she doesn't come back pretty quick, the hope of finding them alive is not good. It's just not good. And it doesn't always, it typically doesn't turn out well. We typically find the body and not the individual. This was different. Frank never gave up hope. He had fears. It haunted him. This went over the Christmas holiday where it was the toughest and he says the loneliest holiday that he ever went through. But he didn't give up hope. He kept looking. The community kept helping. They organized search parties. People put up flyers. He was on social media. He did everything he could. And then after 26 days, something happened. And he did get a call. And Frank, tell us about that call. You got a tip. What happened? Who called? What happened?
So God gave me a gift that day. The thing is that she's been missing for 26 days, and we would get a ton of leads. The police department was inundated with their own investigations, tips being called into the PD, et cetera. So it's very hard to follow every tip that comes in, and a lot of tips are bogus. People are trying to help. They think they see your daughter. I think I saw her here, or some people call you an hour later. But when the tip came in, I almost didn't believe it myself. It sounded a little far-fetched, but the lady seemed to know, and without going too much into details on the person that called in the tip, she seemed to have a lot of information on my daughter that was, pertaining to her that made me believe that she might have been on that boat. She go ahead, Phil, I'm sorry.
You think the lady may have been on the boat?
She was 100% with my daughter when she called me, and she had told me some things about my daughter and maybe her tattoos and things like that made me believe that it was more and more legit as I was driving there. I did place a phone call to the PD and let them know where I was going. I know there's a lot of question marks about that on social media, but I did alert the PD and let them know where I was going.
All right, so you think this person may have been in the presence of your daughter at the time she made the call to you?
No, she was definitely in the presence of my daughter when she made the call to me.
Wow, okay. So, and she told you things about your daughter that made you know that she was with her, had information that verified that for you?
Correct. Yeah.
Again,
it was just about, her tattoos that she has on her neck and things like that made me believe that she really was not my daughter.
Well, that tells you a lot because that's detail. So she's telling you, I'm seeing this on her neck right now, so she must be looking at her at that point. What did you think and feel?
I figured that, yeah.
What did you think and feel when you hear this?
I was excited. I mean, I was hopeful. I was, I was driving pretty fast to get there, and I was hoping that it wasn't a bogus tip. I really wanted it to be my daughter because I followed other tips in the past, and you get your hopes up, and then it turns out to be somebody else. So I
Wow.
was pretty hopeful.
Well, that certainly gave you some detail. So how far was it from where you were when you got the tip to the boat that you drove up on in Islip?
I was about 20 minutes away at the time I got the phone call, and I tried to keep the caller on the phone the entire time.
Were you able to?
I hung up to call the PD, and then I called her back, and she did pick. Thankfully, she picked my call up, and she was legit when she stayed on the phone with me.
Uh-huh. And was she still on the boat when she picked the phone up when you called her back?
No, she was never on the boat. She was outside the boat
Okay.
with another person.
Okay. So she was still there though at the location when you called her back. She hadn't left.
Right. So she had been on the boat. She removed herself from the boat and said that she was standing outside the boat at the time when she called me.
Okay.
And that she was on the boat.
Frank, why do you think this person called you? I mean, what do you think motivated her? I'm asking you to kind of play psychologist for a minute here. Why do you think she called you?
I think the person might have maybe had a moment of clarity and felt bad, and realized that she might have been the missing girl, and just had like a moment of clarity and said, let me call the dad.
And we're not naming her, so you're not defaming anyone or putting anything in jeopardy. Do you think she was involved in this process before and had second thoughts about it? Do you think she was a bystander? How do you think she knew what was going on?
I definitely think she had some involvement to it. How much involvement, I don't know. It's unclear to me, but I definitely think she was an active participant in what was going on, sure.
So you think she may have been involved in the illicit acts that were going on around your daughter and felt bad about it, felt guilty about it, bonded with your daughter in some way?
I think so.
All right.
So.
But she stayed on the scene, and when you pulled up to the boat, was she still there?
Yeah, she was.
So you saw her.
Yeah, she was very nice, very open. I didn't feel threatened at all. She just wasn't too clear if the guy was on the boat or not. She said kind of going at your own risk kind of thing.
Yeah. So, and you had called the police. You said some people were saying comments on social media or whatever, and who cares about that? Who cares what people say, social media say? But you disconnected from her, called the PD and said, I've got a tip. I think it's legit. I'm headed to this location, and told them what you were doing.
Correct. And they did arrive, but it was shortly after I was already there.
All right. And did they try to get you to wait?
No, not at all. They just said they were sending people over. That's pretty much what they said.
So you got there, you see her. Did you talk to her before you went in, and she said, go in at your own risk?
Pretty much, yeah. And at this point, it's been 26 days. I didn't want to take a chance of, God forbid, the police had to get some kind of warrant and the guy having to hide my daughter. I just didn't want to give any chance of anything. If this really was her, I just didn't want to wait. And I didn't want to take any chances of actually losing her. So I just kind of went in at my own risk.
Was the door locked? Was the boat locked? Did you have to kick it down? How'd you get into the boat?
Yeah, I kind of busted through the door and went in.
Yeah. And did you find her right away, or did you have to look around?
No, she actually came walking towards the door, as I guess because she heard all the commotion going on. So she came walking towards the door, but there was like a curtain in front of me, so I couldn't really see it was her at first. And then the moment I saw her, it was a beautiful moment.
Oh, I can't even imagine. And did she recognize you at the time? I know you say she was in an altered state of consciousness. Did she realize it was you?
She instantly knew it was me. And she was surprised that I was there. She said, how the hell did you find me? She was definitely happy I found her, and she seemed relieved.
Okay, well, I've got to know more about this, and I'm going to ask lots of questions about what happened in that moment when Frank finds his daughter after 26 days missing on a strange boat 20 minutes away from where they lived after an anonymous tip. It didn't stay anonymous, but it came in that way. Frank Gervasi never gave up. After 26 days, he gets an anonymous tip that he believes is different from the others because he got a lot of tips. The police got a lot of tips. And some of them were bogus, some of them were trolls, some of them were just saying what they thought was a legitimate tip. Maybe they did see something, maybe they didn't, but this one sounded different. This one he started questioning, and they had details that you kind of had to be there. You kind of had to be having your eyes on this precious young 14-year-old to know what you were describing. And he felt it. And he got in his car and he headed that direction. And when he got there, he crashed through a door and found alive, not necessarily well, not necessarily the way that he would want, but he found Emma Ray alive and on her 2 feet. Frank, take me through that moment when you get from around that curtain, she's standing there. What did she say? What did she do when she realized my dad's here? My father is in this room on this boat. What was her reaction?
Dad, oh my God, I can't believe you found me. We both hugged each other. We cried, and it was an absolute beautiful moment.
And
it was a beautiful moment.
Was she relieved that you were there? Was she embarrassed? Was she excited? How do you think, what was going through her mind and heart?
I definitely think she was relieved I was there. She didn't seem to be upset that I was there. She was very excited to see me. She seemed relieved, and we actually sat down when I realized there was nobody else in the boat at that moment. We sat down, we had a nice conversation until the police arrived. And it was a beautiful moment.
Now, when you went through that door, you didn't know whether there were people in there or not. You didn't know if they were armed. You didn't know what you would find. And I'm pretty sure at that point you didn't give a damn. If you thought your daughter was on the other side of that door, did you clear the boat? Did you look around? What did you do once you got in there to be sure that she was safe and you were safe?
To be honest, I did clear the boat after we hugged and embraced each other. I did say, to myself, who else is on this boat? I did hold her behind me as I went through the rest of the boat and cleared the boat. Once I realized nobody else was there, my concern was I knew he was coming right back as far as what she said. But at that point, I didn't really care. We just sat down. I wanted to assess her, look at her, talk to her. She was coherent, and the police were arriving shortly anyway. So at that moment, I didn't care about anything but my daughter.
Yeah. How long before the police got there?
I'd say it was a good 5 minutes.
Yeah. And what was their reaction when they came in and realized after 26 days, because let me tell you, they had to be thinking, this girl's gone. She's either been trafficked out of here or she's dead. When they come in and say, wow, he's right, this was real, she's here, she's alive, what was their reaction?
I have to be honest with you, the police department was very helpful, and they did a good job in aiding me to find her. They never stopped looking for her. But their reaction was probably just like mine, like, I can't believe you found her. And, they had the SWAT team there. They had a ton of people at my disposal as soon as they showed up. And I think they were all pretty relieved that she was alive and in better condition than we thought.
Right. And so at that point, what happened with your daughter? Was she taken to the hospital? Did she go by ambulance, police car? What did they do with her at that point?
Yeah, we went in the ambulance. They assessed her, and then we went to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. And when you got to the hospital, what did they determine her state of physical health was? Had she been given drugs? What was her condition?
Yeah, she definitely was given drugs, and she seemed dehydrated.
Right. Did they find anything else about her condition? Had she been assaulted, abused, beaten, anything that they could determine?
I'd rather not answer that right now, if you don't mind.
No, I understand completely, and I look forward to meeting your daughter and talking with her, and I promise you when I do, if I get that honor, I certainly won't ask her any embarrassing questions, but Is it your belief that she is getting better each day now? Is she on the upswing?
Yes, she's definitely getting the help she needs. She's in recovery and she is safe right now.
All right.
And that's what matters to me is the frightening part of her being missing to at least knowing she's safe and getting some help right now.
Yeah. And once you knew, look, she's alive, she's going to make it, she's getting the help, I'm going to get my daughter back. I'm curious what you said to yourself, because as a father, and having talked to many a father that have lost children to trafficking, have lost children to drug overdoses, that have been poisoned by this fentanyl epidemic that we're having right now. I've had a lot of fathers that have looked me in the eye when they've lost a child and said, I feel like I failed my daughter. I feel like I failed my son because I let the bad people get them and now they're gone. You were able to get your daughter back. Was there a time that you beat yourself up over this? Did you feel like you failed her at some point?
I mean, absolutely. Every day I was looking for her. I had moments of doubt, depression, moments of wanting to give up, and felt like I failed because I can't find her. And then something just kept pushing me forward to keep going, keep looking for her. And I made a vow to myself that I probably would never stop looking for her unless I found her. It was just how it is. When you're a dad and your child's missing, I think that every parent should actively play a role in looking for their child and not just rely on outside people to look for her. I believe that you need to be active and continue to look for her, your child, as much as you can.
And where has her mother been in all of this?
I'd rather not comment on that.
Okay. But her biological mother is alive?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And she's aware that her daughter went missing, and she's aware that her daughter has been found?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll leave it at that?
Yes. She was upset, and she was definitely upset about it and grieving.
Okay. But she does know that she's been found at this point. Has she seen her daughter since she has been found and recovered?
Yes, she has seen her, and she will be visiting her also.
All right. But you have full custody of your daughter, is that correct?
That's correct at the moment, yes.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. I'm not trying to create an issue there, and I don't want you saying anything that will create a problem. And you've not said anything negative about her biological mother, and I'm not asking you to at all. But you do have custody of her, and her mother's aware that she's been missing and found. I know a lot of people would be curious about that. Do you know how long she will be in recovery before she's allowed to come home and be back with you?
I don't have the answers to that right now. That's going to be up to the facility where she is. They're going to do an evaluation and see. They're going to give me an answer soon, and probably in about a week or two, I'll have some knowledge onto that question of how long this process is going to take. I believe their concern and my concern is just making sure she stays safe and getting the proper help that she needs, as we have tried in the past, and we will continue to just keep trying to do everything we can to help her.
Right, and you're comfortable that she's getting quality care where she is?
100%. Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and I've got some final questions for Frank, and we want to talk about the fact that somebody owned this boat, somebody was associated with this boat at least, and an arrest has been made, charges have been filed. We're going to talk about that, how Frank feels about that, and then I want to know what message he has to a sad number of parents that are walking down this same path. Worldwide, it's estimated that at any given time, over 27 million people of all ages, most of them young, are being trafficked worldwide. We'll talk about the arrest the charges that have been filed, and what Frank has to say to parents that could be caught in this situation, and how to keep your children safe. Well, we're back with Frank Gervasi here, who is a very relieved father because against all odds, after 26 days and relentless efforts, he has been able to recover his missing daughter. He believes without question that she had been caught up in sex trafficking. He got a tip from someone that told him that she was on a boat that was docked in a slip 13 miles from where he lives. And he made the trip and he went over there, and sure enough, there she was. He found her alive, not well, but alive, and he was able to rescue her and get her in the hands of the authorities and healthcare providers, where she's now in the hospital and getting the care that she so desperately needs and deserves. She was on a boat, and there were people tied to, I don't know if it's official ownership or whatever, but there has been an arrest made. And the individual that has been arrested was charged. And that individual has been charged, I believe, with rape and kidnapping and child endangerment. And so I think there has been no bond granted, and I believe the hearing is day after tomorrow, as I understand it, so we'll know more at that point. But you believe that there are others involved in this, so this may not be the only arrest. Is that right, Frank?
Yeah, I believe that there are definitely other people involved in this. I would feel pretty strongly about that. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Have there been other young girls or boys in your area that have gone missing? Have you heard about others in the area that have gone missing, that have been found or not found over the last couple of years? Are there others that you know about?
There's a lot of missing children out here, not just in Suffolk County, but I'd say across Long Island. I think there's 4 currently missing right now. When my daughter went missing, it made us paranoid because there was a lot of kids went missing at the same time to all kind of fit Emma's description. But I would say, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a huge problem out here and across the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is, and I know that you were even contacted by the Petito Family Foundation. Is that correct?
That's correct. Correct. Yeah, they're awesome people.
Well, they are, and I've worked extensively with Joseph and Nicole and Tara and Jim as well, the parents and the step-parents, because we covered the Petito story extensively and are continuing to do so now, and they're just wonderful people, and I support them 100%, and I'm not at all surprised that they reached out to you in this situation, so I hope that you stay in touch with them. As you look back on this, is there anything that you would do differently, anything that you would say different, do different, any way you would engage differently with Emma Ray if you had it to do over again?
I mean, there's a lot of questions that go through your head as a dad of what you could do differently and what you could, you really beat yourself up when your child goes missing. I would say it's a known problem is social media is the biggest problem. I know every kid has a phone, every kid's on social media. It's still a problem that plagues my house with Emma. And it just seems no matter how hard you try to keep your kid off social media, it's almost impossible. I mean, they can even go to school and get their hands on a phone and log in from there. It's extremely difficult to keep your child away from social media at this day and age. So I think that would be one thing I would beat myself up about. I mean, there's a million things that go through your head as a dad of what you could have done differently to prevent this.
Did you give her complete privacy on her social media?
No, not at all. She didn't really have a phone. She was using my wife's phone from time to time, but I guess she figured a way around it.
So she didn't have a phone, but she still was able to make contact and get on these platforms.
Kids are very, very smart.
Yeah. When she comes home, will you do anything differently than you did before when she comes home?
100%. Definitely no phone at all. Zero. Zero access to any outside internet.
And I'm sure they will tell you, and I will tell you if in case they don't. As strange as it may seem, sometimes the pull that they feel when they've been trafficked into this dark world can be very strong. And one of the things that I always tell people is it's very cathartic to talk about these things and give them a voice. And it doesn't mean that you need to talk about specifics. In fact, if you ask a child to detail the specifics of things that they may have experienced during a 26-day period, for example, and they have to go back through that, that's one of the things that can cause PTSD to happen. Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen if they have to recount these things in their mind and in their brain. So there's really nothing to be gained by having them go back through that. It can be embarrassing, it can be shameful, it can be humiliating, particularly to a father. So you certainly don't want to do that. But it can be very cathartic to talk about judgment and what kind of judgments that were made, and the ability to talk to you if she's feeling that kind of wanderlust where she feels like she wants to get out and get away and do things. And if you can talk to her about that and have an open dialogue about it, it can be really great, so she doesn't feel the need to rebel and instead feel like you have trust in her. But that trust doesn't mean that you give her more than she can handle, because children's brains aren't through growing for her for another 11 years here. And the last thing that grows is the ability to see around corners. So please remember that as we go forward. Frank, thank you for talking to me tonight, sir.
I appreciate you. And if you can, if by any chance, if you have any good recommendations for a trauma therapist out here on Long Island, that would be amazing. I'd just like to touch on one other subject real quick, and I know you have to go, but there are predators everywhere. You don't necessarily need a phone to get into trouble these days with your kids. So
You
just
bet.
be diligent and keep an eye on your children.
Thank you, Frank, and I'll get you information. Good night.
I appreciate it. Thank you.